coffee. It's more commonly consumed even than water. Here's why. Because in many places, when you boil the water and need to get out the contaminants and things, then it tastes better once you've needed to go through all that process and everything to put some tea in it than to even go through the whole process. It becomes a little bit safer to drink. Anyway, we can get into the science of all of that, but it's just amazing how much a cup of tea can bring us together. I would love to hear some of your answers to the statement, if Jesus met me for tea. Yes, ma'am.
I would be speechless and dumbfounded and fall down on my knees.
I would be speechless and dumbfounded and fall down on my knees. How did anybody else fill in the blank? If Jesus met me for tea. Yes, ma'am.
How long can you stay?
How long can you stay? Yeah, my tea would get cold because we would just keep talking and talking and talking.
And can you help me move the chicken house?
And can you help me move the chicken house? I love it. I love it. I love it. So, if Jesus met me for tea, how else did anybody fill in the blank? I'd be bubbling over to talking.
I would have so many questions.
So many questions. I just heard the echo, literally, right here. Yes, ma'am.
I think I would say, I'm listening, just talk.
I'm listening. Just talk.
What he had to say.
Would want to hear what he had to say.
I'd give him a hug.
I'd give him a hug. I think I would too. Okay, that answer made all the charts. Good job. You had your hand raised, right?
I'd be nervous to say anything, just listen.
I'd be nervous to say anything. I would just listen. For how many of you, if Jesus met me for tea, there'd be a lot of them. Right? If Jesus met me for tea, I would spill it. There was one of the times that I was speaking on this, there was a table of 6th graders. And I went up to them and, they were kind of going through the questions and I wondered if they were really taking this seriously. So I was kind of eavesdropping and I even asked one of them, I said, okay, so if Jesus met you for tea, how would you fill in the blank? And she said, he would ask me what I'm reading. What she's reading. Jesus would ask her what she is reading. And I loved that. Because it was about Jesus seeing her where she is, what she loves, what she's passionate about. And he would meet her there in that conversation. And I walked away going, these girls have definitely got it. They are definitely taking this seriously. They definitely understand what it would mean to have that kind of an intimate moment with Jesus. When I was first reflecting on this topic, I was going through a season in which I was feeling very alone. I felt like nobody understood me. And I felt like I don't remember how long ago I had moved, but because I travel a lot, it's hard I can relate to Deborah in that sense. I lost her, but where she is. I can relate to her in saying that sometimes I feel at home in so many places that I don't feel as fully, deeply seen and known as I would be with somebody that really knows me well. My parents know and love me well. They've known me my entire life. But they've never lived with me overseas. My mom understands more Spanish than she lets on, and I've got some funny stories about that. But she doesn't speak it. My dad went with me to Colombia one time, and I was able to translate for him sermon. But that's not the same as him having poured into a church that started there and being able to go back and visit there every time while I was living in this way. It's not the same as just someone more fully, even for those of you that are married, your spouse only knows or gets you to a certain level. It goes back to the joke in the skit about why Adam needed Eve, right? And so many times, Satan wants us to feel alone. He wants us to feel like there is no one that sees us or knows us. I was blessed to meet Kenya last night, and because I have been to Cuba twice, and because, yes, as you said, Spanish is my nerdy passion, we went rattling off in Spanish and talking about Cuba and making all of these connections, and there were several moments in which we were saying, you really do get it. And we both felt that much more seen and known because of that common connection. Well, ladies, if Jesus met me for tea, if he sat down across from me, he would be looking straight into my eyes with a depth of love and of understanding, and he would see me and know me in a way that no one else ever has, ever can, or ever will. He invites us into such an intimate, personal relationship. It is powerful to see how our God that created the heavens and the earth wanted to walk in the garden with Adam and Eve. He made all of this beautiful creation, and it says that he walked and talked with them. I think that Adam and God walked and talked about certain things. God might have even teased him about, okay, so why did you call that one a rhinoceros? Because Adam named all the animals. They may be laughing about, oh, I know, look how that anteater does these things. I mean, can you imagine? Adam might have said, okay, God, what's the engineering here about how did you get that giraffe's neck to be so long and work so well and be so powerful when it whacks you? It just... But what do you think God and Eve talked about? Some more of the heart matters. I saw Tracy kind of tapping her heart right there. Those deeper, more intimate, maybe even the more emotional side of some of the things. He walked and talked from the very beginning and wanted to know us. Sadly, sin entered in, and that broke that intimacy of relationship. So then we see throughout the Old Testament of the ways in which God is longing to bring his people back into that intimate relationship with him. He knew and saw them to a level that they did not even know themselves. But our God is loving and merciful, and he always gave Israel the opportunity to repent, to turn back, and to sit down with him again. I want us to look at one specific story where God invited someone into that intimacy of relationship and connection. Especially someone that did not feel seen or understood. We're going to go all the way back to the book of Genesis, and we're going to go to chapter 16. I'm going to paint a little bit of a picture of where we are in the story of have many descendants, as numerous as the stars in the sky, more than the sands in the seashore. But there's a problem. In order to have that many descendants, you have to start with at least one. Right? I mean, you can't go to all numerous numbers without starting with the first one. So, en el libro de Génesis 16, I told Luz I would give her some shout-outs in Spanish. In the book of Genesis, chapter 16, we have the story of Hagar. Hagar was Sarai's, because at this point, they are not Abraham and Sarah. At this point, they are Abram and Sarai. Because there is not the covenant relationship that's happening in chapter 18, a little bit later. This is when they are Abram and Sarai. Sarai had a servant named Hagar. And it was very common in biblical times for there to be children, not just through a wife, but also through other servants, other wives, and other women. That seems very foreign to us today, but the word foreign is very appropriate because in this foreign land at that time that was back then, that was a common practice and it was part of the command to be fruitful and multiply that came back from the Garden of Eden. And so we're going, Sarai, were you crazy? Well, she does later think she was crazy for doing this, but what she was doing, she thought she was doing appropriately. So we've got Hagar, who had given Abram now a child that was named Ishmael. But I want us to start reading in verse 7, because at the beginning of this chapter, we have Hagar, who is now had Ishmael, and there's jealousy that has entered in. There are all these shows now, like Sister Wives and whatever, and you can, I don't even want to imagine. But the jealousy and the contempt that there was between Sarai and Hagar was strong. And so Sarai comes to Abram and says, all right, what are we going to do with her now? Because you gave her a son and I don't have children. And he's like, okay, you gave her to me. So you do with her whatever. You see fit. She's your servant. And so Sarai says, Hagar, get out of here. This is too much. So what is Hagar feeling at this moment? Rejection. Alone. Abandoned. In this moment, angel of the Lord, Genesis 16, verse 7. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? Okay, I'm just feeling abandoned and rejected and alone. And an angel comes to me and knows my name and is asking me a question. I'm running away from my mistress Sarah, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now with child, and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild goat to a man, his hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. It was not just a problem It is amazing to see that God did not just give a promise to Abram, who would be the father of many nations. He gives a promise to Hagar, who is going to be the mother of many nations. The angel of the Lord met Hagar and saw her. Where did this happen? In verse 7. Where did this happen? In the desert, but where in the desert?
Near Shur.
Near Shur. Near the springs. What kind of springs are we talking about? Water, right? Verse 13. She gave this name to the Lord Yahweh, who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. That is why the well was called Beer the High Road. It is still there between Kadesh and the Red. The God who sees. El Roy. That is the Hebrew name for God that Hagar gave to him. Because there at that spring, where later was built a well, in the middle of the desert, Hagar was seen and understood. She was no longer alone. She was no longer part of this family that they'd been given a promise, but I'm just kind of this bringing along the stepson. No. She was met there by the God who sees. This is not just an Old Testament story. Thank you for the song earlier. Now we're going to go to John 4 and look at the Samaritan woman. For those that are familiar with this story, where did the Samaritan woman meet Jesus? At a well. And I trust that Eve walked along with God along those rivers that were there in the Garden of Eden. So John chapter 4, Jesus is tired from the journey. How many of you have been tired from a journey? Jet lag is real. How many of you got tired from the journey because you are from your car into here, because you are in a physical state where your body just hurts? You don't have to raise your hand because that's too much effort. I understand. But I appreciate the effort of you getting here today. We serve a God that knows and understands what it means to be tired and thirsty, who has suffered in every way, Hebrews chapter 4 says, but in that he did not sin. We serve a God that sees us, that knows us, that understands to a level that we cannot even comprehend. So Jesus is tired from the journey. The apostles are going to go on in to town to be able to get some supplies. And Jesus says, y'all go ahead. I'm going to sit here at the well and catch my breath. The interesting thing about this as well is that for those of us that love to travel, we can go by car, we can go by plane, some places we can go by train. How many of you enjoy a road trip? All right. How many of you love to make stops along the way, like at some of you are already raising their hand. Okay, so what's on the list for the stops along the way? Bucky, I knew that was going to come up. I told Danielle I can choose the longer scenic route, I can choose the most direct. I am always choosing that shortest, most direct route.
It's sad.
I'm sorry that that's so sad. Live a little and enjoy life. I just want to enjoy life when I get there. I want to get there faster to enjoy life with who I'm going to see.
You're still young.
I'm still young. Okay, I'll take that. But here's the point with that. Is that no matter what speed we walk along the journey, no matter which kind of road trip we take, we've got a God that walks alongside us.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things about this story in John 4 is that what would have made sense would have been for them to take a more direct route to get from one point to another point where they were going. But Jesus in verse 4 was the one leading those apostles, right? So verse 4 it says, now when he had to go through Samaria, he really didn't. If you look at a map, it's like Jesus was like, okay, I'm not wanting the most scenic route. Nope. I'm not wanting the fastest route. Nope. I'm wanting the one that takes us through the place that most Jews would avoid. Yeah, that one. Add stop, Samaria. Why? Because he knew he had a divine appointment with this Samaritan woman. So it's the middle of the day, it's the heat of the day, and she has gone at that time to go and draw water. I have been in some suffocatingly hot places. I am not going to go run an errand at the middle of the day in those suffocatingly hot places. Even my friends that love the heat, they're still going to be wise about how they spend their energy and not go in the middle of the day to go get water. But she did. And Jesus knew she was going to be there at that time for that purpose because he said, add stop, we're going to Samaria. So Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour. 6th hour, in the way the Bible counts time and in the way they counted time, that means it was about noon. Heat of the day. So in verse 7, when a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, will you give me a drink? His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, you're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. We live in a world where go into all the world and make disciples does not mean that we have to go all the way across the world. Many times now it means going across the street. Because every nation, tribe, and tongue, globalization has brought all of that to our doorsteps. But many times, because we don't know about the other culture, or they may be part this culture and part that culture, or we have all of those, I don't know if I can talk to somebody that doesn't speak the same language as I do. Well, you know what? You can say, hola. And you can offer a smile. Well, but I don't know. Yet. This woman said, how is it that you are going to talk to me? Because you're a man, I'm a woman, you're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan. She even continues on Here we go. Verse 12. Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his flocks and sons and herds? She's like, okay, we're Samaritans. We are half Jews. They think that we need to go and worship. Okay, here it is, verse 20. But you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. I'm the rejected people. I'm part of those that you're trying to impose things on. We have to go over to Jerusalem to worship. We have to go in and amongst all the Jews to do this. But let's get back to running start with their conversation. Verse 10. After Jesus has asked her for a drink, and she says, why are you even talking to me? And who are you to ask me for a drink? Jesus answered her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water.
Amen.
You're asking me to serve you tea? Yes, I am. And actually, if you knew who I was that's sitting here with you, you'd ask me for living water. I got a pitcher, I got a jug, I got a source that never runs dry, and that from which flows life. And an abundant life that he wants to offer. Verse 11. Sir, the woman said, you have nothing to draw with. It's like, you don't even have a pitcher. And you're going to offer to serve me now? Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, and did also his sons and his flocks and herds? Jesus answered, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But everyone who drinks of the living water will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. What an offer. At this point, Jesus hadn't told anybody else about this. He chose a Samaritan woman who came at the heat of the day to draw water. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water. He told her, okay, go call your husband and come back. Well, I have no husband, she replied. Jesus said to her, okay, we're getting into this a little more now. Jesus said, okay, go call your husband. She's like, about that, I have no husband. But Jesus said to her, you are right to say that you have no husband. In fact, you've had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you just said is quite true. He knew. And at that moment, she knew that he knew. Sir, the woman said, I can see you're a prophet. Because, our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. Jesus declared, believe me, woman, a time is coming when you will worship the Father, when you, Samaritan woman, will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Because what was Jesus? A Jew. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in spirit and in truth. The woman said, I know the Messiah called Christ is coming, and when he comes, he will explain everything to us. And Jesus says, I who speak to you am he. By this point, she's not even holding on to her bucket. She has set it down. They are face to face. They are eye to eye. She has been seen. She realizes and starts recognizing who he is. And once that all has been clarified, oh wow, you are a prophet. They told us that Christ, a Messiah, was going to come and explain all this to us. And wait, you're him? I'll do that. She takes off to go tell the whole town who she has just met. Because it's not only that they met at the well, he saw her. He understood her. He did not reject her. Rather, he invited her into an even greater intimacy to worship in spirit and in truth, what she has not been able to do up until that point. Of course you couldn't ever go tell everybody. So then, while she's gone, the apostles come back and they're like, all right, Jesus, here's some food. And he's like, yeah, I'm hungry. What? You were tired and thirsty. That's why you're sitting here. It's not like you had something to drink. I'm sure they all explained it to, mansplained it to him about how it was that Jesus needed to, and Jesus said, no, you don't get it. I have food to eat and water to drink that goes way beyond the physical. Oh, yeah, okay. So maybe they were starting to catch on again. I'm not meaning to be hard on the apostles. I would have done the same thing. So then, though, jump down to verse 39. John 4:39. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I ever did. The woman who came at a time when nobody else was going to be there. I can have this time at the well. I can gather the water by myself because I'm the one. I'm either a black widow or I have been 5 times divorced. We don't know all of her story. But she came to the well at that time because she was avoiding others. Okay, I'm just going to sit here at this back table. Nobody else. I'm going to avoid eye contact. And Jesus says, oh no, I'm pulling up a chair and I'm sitting with you. And she feels seen and understood for the very first time. Of course, she couldn't help but go share that with others. If Jesus met me for tea, for Eve, it was walking along in the garden. For Hagar, it was meeting her at the springs and seeing her and loving her and her for the first time, feeling seen and known and loved, so that she even names God, the God who sees. The Samaritan woman in John 4 who meets Jesus and realizes, wow, you are that Messiah. Goes back, tells everyone else. She was one of the first female evangelists. Because she could not help sharing what she had seen and heard. To the same kind of statement we see later about the apostles in the book of Acts. If God met me for tea, if Jesus met me for tea, that's what he did in all three of these stories. God designed us to be in intimate relationship with him. And the wonderful thing about looking at it from the perspective of if Jesus met me for tea, is tea takes a minute to seep and to brew. There are different teas that have different healing qualities or different other properties. There are teas that you have the temperature at the water at a certain temperature, and you steep it for a certain number of minutes. You know, it's amazing that God even made that much variety in teas, much less the variety in animals. And look at this beautiful variety of women. He knows and sees every one of those details, and it takes time for us to develop that intimacy of relationship with him. For some of you, you maybe have just recently met him. For some of you, you've known each other a long time, and it's time to sit down for a longer cup. And let things steep. Let him see you and know you where you are right now. For some of you, if you have not ever met him and want to come to know him, we would love to talk with you more about what that means and what it is to meet him at another place of water, the waters of baptism. He invites us to be seen and to be known and to become one with him, where our identity is not one of being rejected or abandoned or anything else, but it is an identity that's found in him. How can you set aside some time to allow Jesus to meet you for tea? I'm going to give you some time in a moment to reflect on that and to share with a couple of ladies near you about that through what we call the common threads. And I'm going to get into that in a second, but I'm getting ahead of myself because first I want to show you, it's a 5-minute video that tells the story of various women that have allowed God to invite them for tea. They have dived deep, they have jumped in and said, yes, I want to meet him here, and yes, I want to know how to meet him for tea and how to grow in our relationships with him, but I also want to know how to grow in our relationships with others that he has invited to the table. Because sometimes I need to have that one-on-one time when Jesus meets me for tea. And sometimes I need to have a whole table of ladies where he has met us for tea and we're seeing him and we're knowing him and he sees us and we know that he knows us, but we need to see and know each other. And then sometimes we need to invite somebody new to the table because they've not met him yet. And so what I'm going to show you is a video that is going to share some of how Iron Rose Sister Ministries has been doing that for the past almost 13 years. Sorry for the subtitle blocking part of that, but it is amazing how universally Jesus meets us for tea. And God invites us to be in intimate relationship with the one who sees. What we're going to do is for a few minutes, I want you to look at the back of your bookmark, and it has what we call the common threads. And it takes the image of the logo of the ministry and it breaks it into 3 parts. The bloom is an area in which you want to grow or bloom. It might be, for example, I want to dedicate more time to sit down in intimate communication with Jesus. A thorn I might need to remove, that's coming from the stem and the thorn on those roses, is But what's hindering me is a fear that they're going to reject it. Or maybe a nail. The nail represents an area in which you want to dig deeper or need someone like iron sharpening iron to hold you accountable. And so I want you to take a moment to just reflect on those things yourself. And if the opportunity presents during the break that we're about to have, or at another time we're going to allow for space for that, it's for you to share that with someone else. Because that iron sharpening iron is because we need others to encourage us on our spiritual journeys. And we are not as